So I was given the opportunity to do an internship in El Cajon, California, and it was a worship internship. I was called to lead worship there, and I remember leaving. I just felt like I was in the center of God's will. Like there was nothing else for me to be doing at that time other than what I was going to do there. So I flew out. And, I'm from Turbeville, South Carolina. So going out that far away was extremely scary for me because it was completely across the country. And I just didn't know if I was ready for that or not, but I knew that God was calling me. So I decided to go, and I left my family at home and went and started leading worship. And I remember one day, it was about a month into my internship. I was supposed to be there for 2 months, and a month into it, I got a phone call from home. And it was my dad. And he was extremely just distraught. Like he didn't know exactly how to put into words what was going on. And so I had to calm him down. I'm like, just tell me, what's going on? Like, take a breath, like what's going on? And he said, your mom's in the hospital and things don't look really good and it's time for you to come home. So I didn't really know what God was trying to do or trying to teach me or even what he was gonna do with the situation. So I go home and I walk into the hospital room the next morning. And I remember I saw my mom on all of these different machines, and things were helping her breathe, and all these things that were helping her body do regular functions that normal people can easily do. Seeing her like that, I just got extremely frustrated with God. I just did not know why God was doing something like that to someone so important to me, and why specifically my family, and why specifically my mom. And so I went home that night, and I was just begging God. At this point, I was just like, God, just spare her. Because actually the lead doctor on her case said that she had never seen anything like that in 20 years of doing gastrology and things like that. But there was a hole in her intestines and there were toxins leaking into her bloodstream, causing her organs to shut down. And so I went home, like I said, and I was just extremely frustrated with God because I had no idea why we were in this place and why he took me from being what I thought was in the center of his will back home into this situation. So with that, I really started to check myself and see what it was in me that was just unsettled with the situation. And I thought on Psalm 71, but as for me, I'll always have hope. I'll praise you more and more. My mouth will tell of your righteousness, of your salvation all day long, though I know not its measure. And I will come and proclaim your mighty acts, O sovereign Lord. I will proclaim your righteousness, yours alone. Since my youth, O God, you've taught me, and to this day I will declare your marvelous deeds. And in reading that, I was just extremely convicted because David had such reckless abandonment and such confidence in the goodness and the faithfulness of God. And I was not in that place at all. And I knew that in reading that, God was calling me to get to that place, no matter what the situation was going to mean for me or my family. I remember just, the days going by or whatever, going and visiting my mom, and gradually my mom was pulled off of these different machines and things like that. And I was just so confused even then, because I was like, why God brings me through all of this just for the same outcome of my mom actually being okay. Like it was just really confusing to me. And then I realized that the reason why I think this situation happened for my family and I is that, so we could see the goodness and the faithfulness of God for one, but also that we would be willing and able to trust God even if the situation doesn't work out the way we want it to. And that was one thing that was really convicting for me looking back, because my mom was brought through and I was like, wow, why did I ever doubt? Why did I ever question? And scripture calls us, it doesn't call us to question God, it calls us to know him. It says, be still and know that I'm God. And I wasn't being still enough to know. I was completely, immersed in the storm, and I was just focused on everything that God was doing wrong, when I could have immersed myself, and I should have earlier on in the situation, immersed myself in God's goodness and God's love and been able to see that more than the situation. And obviously through the situation it worked out and God gave us a miracle. But more so, he really showed us how good and how faithful he can be.